Shall we buy a new house? One day, my husband, who had quit his job to pursue his dreams, came to me with an innocent, childlike look in his eyes and suggested taking out a $350,000 mortgage to buy a house. I was taken aback by this sudden suggestion, but I had also dreamed of living in a new house, so I thought about accepting my husband's proposal. However, one day I witnessed my husband chatting with a woman happily. Even more surprisingly, my husband had planned to put the new house in my name and get rid of me after we moved in. "Where's the new house?" my husband said in a phone call, who had gone ahead to the new house. He sounded anxious on the other end of the line, and I smiled as I replied, "Well, my name is Mary. I'm 35 years old and work as an elementary school teacher. I met my husband, John, at a high school reunion, and our love story began from there. We got married 3 years ago. My husband had a busy job at a supermarket, and we enjoyed our days together, finding happiness in small things. But one day my husband decided to quit his job." "Wait, are you serious about quitting your job?" I was surprised by his sudden announcement. He explained that he had been writing novels and publishing them online, and he wanted to make a living off of that. "Besides, Mary, you have your own salary, right?" he added with a big smile. I couldn't stay angry at him. I'm the type who thinks carefully, and I had concerns about my husband quitting his job. However, I decided to support his dream. I believed it was what marriage was all about, supporting each other's dreams. My husband is really obsessed with writing a new novel these days, often holed up in his favorite room. Once he goes in there, it's hard to get him out. It's like a child absorbed in playing with their toys. On the other hand, I find myself busy, tidying up my husband's dishes and laundry every day by myself. There have been times when, out of much fatigue, I muttered, "I wish you could help out today. Hey, even just for a bit, could you help with some housework?" I asked gently. In response to my request, my husband said, as he usually does, "Just give me a little more time. If this sells well, it'll make things easier for both of us." Then one day, my husband suddenly made an unrealistic proposal. "Let's buy a new house." I was surprised and couldn't help but ask, "Huh? Really? Isn't our current house good enough?" His eyes sparkled as he said, "Wouldn't it be nice to have a bit more space? We're thinking about having kids in the future. Isn't this a good time? But you're not working right now." He took my hand and said with a smile, "It's okay. I can rely on you, Mary, can't I?" Before I knew it, my husband had spread out property catalogs and started searching for our dream home. So, swept up in his excitement, we decided to visit a real estate agency. Wow, this living room is much more spacious than I thought. Oh, look, it's an open kitchen design. It's the style I've always dreamt of. But you know, there might be slightly less sunlight from the windows. As we began visiting properties, I didn't realize how fun it would actually be. Through lively discussions with my husband, my anxieties about buying a house gradually eased. To be honest, when my husband first mentioned wanting to buy a house, I wondered what he was thinking, but it turns out his suggestion was well thought out with our future in mind. Before I knew it, I even found myself feeling grateful to my husband for coming up with the idea. "Hey, don't you think this is really nice? You mean this big house?" I could see the excitement in my husband's eyes. A new 3-story house might be a bit too big for just the two of us, but it's in a convenient location with a station and a supermarket nearby. The real estate agent hesitated as if it was difficult to bring it up. "Actually, this property is a bit higher than your budget." "Really? How much are we talking about?" "Well, it's around $350,000. "What? $350,000? I was so shocked that my voice went up. Seeing the real estate agent there with an awkward smile, I couldn't help but laugh. "This house is really lovely, but isn't it a bit too big for us? I'm thinking about our future kids and the bustling family life we'll have. I'm sure we'll be fine with a mortgage." "Don't worry about the money. But can you really get a mortgage with your current situation?" "Mary, we'll be fine. You're working as a teacher, and with mortgage protection insurance, we'll have peace of mind even if something happens." My husband's eyes were sparkling, and it seemed like he was really drawn to this house. "But if we don't decide soon, someone else might buy this house." I understand that, but making such a big decision isn't something you can do in an instant. That's why I decided to take a little more time to think before giving an answer." My husband looked disappointed, though. While I was thinking if this house was truly perfect for us, I was struggling with the pressures of a busy job, house chores, and the decision of whether to buy the house, which seemed to be overwhelming me. Then 3 days after viewing the property, I suddenly fell ill and had a high fever during class. When I checked my temperature in the school's health room during lunch break, it was a whopping 39 degrees Celsius. I hadn't had such a high fever in a long time. I couldn't help but think, maybe I was pushing myself too hard, and I got permission to leave early. On the way home, I felt exhausted and my head felt heavy. I didn't feel like driving at all. That's when a colleague asked, "Are you okay?" and offered to give me a ride home. When I got home, my husband, who usually greets me with a welcome back, was nowhere to be seen. I felt a little worried, but my body was in bad shape, so I laid down on the bed. However, later I heard the sound of the door opening, and I thought, "Oh, he's back." I got up from the bed, and what I saw at the entrance took me by surprise. My husband was there with a woman I didn't know, and they seemed to be having a good time. They were having a conversation like, "Should we go to the bedroom? And this place is fine." My vision went blank, and my head started spinning. They seemed so engrossed that they didn't notice my presence. Later, it seemed like the two of them went to the bathroom. I wanted to escape from this shocking scene, so I dashed outside. I walked aimlessly along the riverbank nearby, and before I knew it, I was sitting on the embankment, looking up at the sky. Tears welled up, and I cried without thinking. Eventually, I noticed the river's surface turning orange, indicating that it was evening. As the sun quietly set, my heart began to calm down a bit. On the way home, thoughts about the future with my husband and that woman were swirling around in my head. My husband always said he wanted kids, and his eyes would light up every time we looked at a new house. So, I wondered if he was serious about that woman, or if it was just a passing thing. I thought to myself, I need to talk to my husband first. When I got home, my husband was waiting with a cheerful smile. "Hi, what's with the sudden burst of energy? You know the house we looked at? It seems like there are other interested buyers." So, I told them I want to buy it. Really? I had planned to have a serious conversation with my husband about that matter, but seeing his excitement, I couldn't find the words. "Why are you deciding something so important on your own? I really love that house, you know. So I'm going to finalize the contract on our next day off. Come with me, okay?" Feeling a bit overwhelmed by his enthusiasm, I grabbed my husband's hand to stop him. "Wait a minute, there's something I still want to talk about." "Is that so? I have a deadline looming right now. I need to concentrate in my room. Sorry, I'll eat dinner later." Saying that, my husband went into the room. The sound of the door closing made my heart sink, and I couldn't help but sigh. I tried to wrap myself in the blanket and go to sleep, but I couldn't get my husband's behavior out of my mind. My heart remained restless and troubled. "I'm feeling a bit thirsty," I thought to myself, and decided to go to the kitchen. From my husband's room, I heard faint voices. Normally, I probably wouldn't have paid much attention to those voices, but today was different. I picked up my smartphone, pressed the record button, and slightly opened the door. My husband's voice came through clearly. "I'll put the house in my wife's name, and then just create a little accident," he said. Hearing those words, my heart felt like it was being squeezed tightly. "I'll make sure my wife will drink coffee with sleeping pills before she leaves for work by car. If that doesn't work, we'll think of the next step," he continued, followed by a chuckle that sounded oddly amused. "I'm looking forward to our new life with Luna, and with this method, the house loan should be fine, right?" I returned to my room feeling really confused and shocked. In moments like these, I didn't know how to handle my emotions. What was my husband thinking, doing something like this? And especially to me. Instead of anger, I felt more surprised and confused. I had no idea what to do at all, but by making a vow to myself, I will never allow this to happen, I began to feel a bit more calm. The next day, I pretended to go to work as part of a plan and left the house. My destination was the real estate agent. When I arrived at the real estate agent, I began, "I'm sorry, I have something important to discuss," and told the agent everything about my husband and the house. Then with the agent, we started to make a plan. As soon as I got back home, I said to my husband, "I might be in a hurry, but I signed the contract for the house today." My husband's eyes widened in surprise. "Really? Today?" "I know. Since we've gone through all this trouble, I wanted to move in quickly. And don't forget, I also got mortgage protection insurance." My husband's face brightened. "Well then, when can we move in?" "Next month. I'm looking forward to preparing for the move together," I said. My husband seemed excited, almost like a child, but I knew his true intentions. While holding back my anger inside, I smiled kindly on the surface, and before we knew it, the day arrived. Most of our belongings were already packed in boxes, and we were just waiting for the moving company. "I'll handle communication with the moving company, so you can wait at the new place. Enjoy yourself," I said. "Are you sure?" "Yo, it's fine. This is the place you've been looking forward to the most, right?" With a smile, I watched my husband head to the new home with excitement, while my heart raced. As the moving company arrived and I was heading to the new home, my husband rang me continuously. Since I was driving, I ignored it until I reached our new home. I took a deep breath and checked his missed calls. staring at the constantly ringing phone. I finally pressed the answer button. Hello, why did you call so many times? Why weren't you answering your phone? I could hear surprise and panic in my husband's voice. What's wrong? I can't believe it, but when I went to the new place earlier, there was someone I didn't know already living there. My husband's voice was so loud that I needed to move my cell phone away. Her? Really? But we had a proper agreement, I said. My husband, with a voice filled with panic and anger, responded. Then why is this happening? I could easily imagine my husband panicking in his mind, but I just couldn't stop laughing. Why are you laughing? He asked. I'm sorry, but I found it a bit amusing, I replied. Why is it amusing? Well, you see, on the day I came home early because I was feeling unwell, I saw you and the girl chatting happily at the front door. Huh? I could picture my husband's face turning even redder than I had imagined, and I couldn't stop laughing again. You both seem to be having quite a good time. Spying on us, that's terrible. Who's the one being terrible here? Ultimately, it's your fault for not supporting my dream of becoming a novelist. Is that girl supporting you? Yes, I understand your feelings. So, is it okay if we get a divorce? My husband responded quickly. I don't want a divorce. And what's going to happen to the house? I smiled and said, it's okay. We didn't sign the contract, and I heard my husband gasp in unbelief. Well, actually, I handed the house over to the person who wanted to buy it, I explained. My husband was silent for a moment and then muttered softly, why would you do that? I guess I just lost the desire to live with you in that new house after your affair, I replied. But what about our house? My husband sounded a bit panicked. Ours? If we're talking about mine, I have signed a new contract for a different place, and I am living there, I responded. My husband's confusion came through over the phone. What do you mean? Where should I go? That's why I'm talking about a divorce. Your belongings are still at the old house. We'll proceed with the divorce soon, I calmly explained. My husband was shocked and raised his voice. Why is this happening? You must be having an affair. That's why you're doing this, right? You're the one having an affair, I shouted. No, you're the one cheating. I'll tell your parents. My husband shouted with anger, making baseless accusations. That's when I suggested, well, let's go to my parents' house together then. We can all watch the footage of you having fun with your lover there. In fact, I had set up hidden cameras in our house after catching my husband cheating. You can't be serious about filming me without my consent, my husband protested. I don't need your permission anyway. By the way, I've heard about your plan too, I said, revealing my knowledge of his actions, leaving my husband confused. When I said, shall we go to the police? My husband weakly replied, no, the police. Well then, let's stop any more arguments and proceed with the divorce, I said, as I sighed in my mind, realizing how exhausting conversations with my husband had become. I was about to hang up when my husband spoke with a pleading tone. Wait a moment, listen to me. Huh? Is there something else? The house we used to live in, it's gone now, right? So, where should I go? Why don't you go to your affair partner's place? She's still living with her parents, so I can't go there. I could only feel exasperated by my husband's excuse-like voice. Really? You need to figure things out for yourself. But right now, we're still married, aren't we? How am I supposed to make a living without you? I don't care. Work hard as a novelist and support yourself. While my husband tried to say something, I hung up the phone. I no longer had any attachment to him. Afterward, the divorce went through. But a while later, I received a message from my ex-husband saying, I know we were divorced, but I'm in financial trouble, so please help me. Of course, I ignored it. One day, when I had tea with my ex-husband's parents, I heard that my ex-husband had tried to move in with his affair partner, but her parents got angry and kicked him out of the house. He had broken up with her as well and was now staying with friends. He was in big trouble with money and had reached out to me for help. So I ignored all his messages and blocked him. Now, I'm living a stress-free life in a new home. I plan to live my life positively, work hard, and look forward to new days ahead.